Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to today's edition of Read TFOS, where I take old stories up narrated and update into modern audio standards. This particular story is called Hands-On Diplomacy, written by 3DucksInAManSuit. But how do you even bring the conversation around to that point? Purdy's ear twitched, the blue flush across his maw broadcasting embarrassment for all to see. Do you just barrel up and ask them? Is it considered personal or invasive? Ash had the cheekiest grin Purdy had ever seen her wear, reveling in her brother's discomfort. It's kind of personal, but I'm told the human enjoys it almost as much as we do. It's a bonding exercise. So, I just asked depends on the human. Some might find it weird, being so open. But you know the diplomat on level 4? Chris, yeah. He's used to it. You can just ask him and he'll be okay with it. Purdy ran a paw through his fur. The twitching of his tail was just adorable. I'm trusting you with this, Ash. If this is some kind of prank, relax, little brother. You're gonna love it. She pushed him out the door of the family unit, leaving no more room for doubt. No more putting it off. Go and ask him. The problem with meeting a new intergalactic species that no one ever seems to consider, thought Ambassador Chris Castaway, was what to call them. These furry little creatures had introduced themselves with a sound somewhere between a dog growling and a panicked squeal of a frightened pig. A noise that a human simply had no chance of even writing down phonetically, let alone actually pronouncing. Even the universal translators had given up on that one. Colloquially, humans had already referred to them as teddy wolves, but as the first diplomat to be engaged in relations, Chris had to establish the relationship moving forward. There needed to be a formal name to call them in human languages. He was just poring through his journals and pondering the issue when the chime announced he had a visitor. Greetings, Ambassador. Despite all the encouragement from his sister, Purdy could still feel his tail swishing around to control, like a newborn pup. Purdy, welcome. Come on in. What brings you to my little corner of the station? The human smiled without showing teeth, a practiced gesture, and started brewing a cup of Homer bark tea. Purdy cleared his throat as he took a seat in Chris's unit. I heard you helped my sister with a thing. Chris's hands paused while working before he continued. Yes, she asked me if the new rumors about humans and what we can do were true, and she asked me to demonstrate. I must admit, her boldness was surprising. Refreshing, but a surprise. He sat down opposite Purdy and laid down the cups he had poured, which his guest proceeded to ignore completely. Did you come here to experience something similar? The teddy wolf blushed furiously, blue instead of red. If you wouldn't mind. Chris laughed, doing so in a fashion that only other humans would find unnatural. He had to be careful not to show teeth. No need to be so embarrassed. You wouldn't be the first. Come over here. He patted the couch next to him, seemingly hypnotized. Purdy slid off his own chair and took the offered seat. I really don't know what this entails. I've only heard rumors. Whatever Purdy was going to say was lost as Chris ran his fingers through the fur on his head and began to move them in a circular pattern. Purdy felt his strength leave him. His head dropped to fall shamelessly into Chris's lap. If his brain hadn't been melting, he would have been utterly mortified at the brooding idiot's expression now dominating his maw. Chris's fingers were digging into his scalp with just enough force to be firm without actually hurting him. They met the surface with a combination of finesse and strength that no paw could ever match. A dim corner of Purdy's mind told him that it was acting like an animal, tamed at the hands of a human with barely a touch, and he really should make an effort to preserve his dignity. Those thoughts were obliterated when Chris moved his right hand under his ear and began scratching in that exact spot Purdy could never reach himself. By the spirits! Could all humans do this, induce total euphoria with barely a touch? Chris scratched him with his right hand and massaged with his left. He responded as if reading Purdy's mind, somehow hitting all the right spots. Pure bliss. Chris had 3 cats back home. They were at varying levels of needy, but like all cats, they never said no to scritches. It would have been surprising to discover that teddy wolves reacted in much the same way as cats do to a scratch behind the ears. It had been a real shock to discover they reacted even more. They didn't purr, but they did make an adorable low mewing sound that always reminded Chris of someone sighing with pleasure as he sunk into a hot bath. Much like having a cat on your lap, it was also difficult to stop. He knew from experience that the teddy wolf would basically stay there enjoying the massage until he put an end to it. And he did have work to do. Eventually, Chris chose a point and ended with a few quick strokes through Purdy's fur, smoothing down the tufts of fur disrupted by his fingers. It took a while for the young teddy wolf to snap back to its senses and take its head off Chris's lap. Almost immediately, the signs of embarrassment came crashing back like withdrawal hitting a druggie after a particularly strong hit. I'm sorry. I didn't mean... I was... Chris laughed again, covering his mouth with his hand, since he found himself physically unable to not show his teeth this time. Don't worry about it. Your sister was pretty much the same. It's just nature. Burley made hurried excuses and left, tail swishing like mad, finally leaving Chris to continue his work. He still didn't have a formal name for the teddy wolves, but he had a feeling interspecies relations between them and humanity were going to work out just fine. End of story. Story number 2. Human Sucklings, written by osoALoso. Attention all Eclectic Station members are hereby warned. Do not touch Terran Sucklings without the consent of their mother. Any actions taken by the Terrans against any species who violates this rule will be the express fault of that species alone. The Terrans have the full backing of station security. Growlcott looked across at his partner and asked, "What could have necessitated such an announcement?" Parsheen looked over and asked, "You didn't hear?" "Hear what?" Growlcott leaned in closer as Parsheen started to whisper. "You know how Terrans are from the Deathworld, right?" "Well, yes, but they don't look like they are, at least not until they smile. They look rather typical as most species in size and strength." "I would agree with you on the size. They have a slim advantage in strength. Their teeth are the only real giveaway they are Deathworlders. Some would even say that fact is an evolutionary adaptation of their species to look rather unassuming." "I don't want to know about what the Deathworld scholars argue about. Just tell me what in the Three Boons happened." "Well, you know how we have the Viteen mercenary stocked here?" "Yeah, they have a nasty bunch." "Nasty is a compliment. They have a custom of capturing and eating sucklings to display their dominance. It isn't the best action, but most species have large broods and technically aren't sentient until adolescence. Not the Terrans. They assign sentience at the moment of birth and only give birth to one suckling a year, give or take a few lunar rotations. It's a miracle they ever reached spaceflight." "Not a miracle at all. It is evolution. It has caused them to be fiercely territorial of their sucklings. The reason for that announcement: 3 Viteen guards snatched a Terran suckling, and one put it in a tasting mouth in front of the suckling's mother, probably trying to figure out which piece to eat first. "The Terrans are pretty emotional. The female must have taken it pretty hard to watch her suckling get eaten." It didn't get eaten. She killed all 3 Viteen." "Frobshit. There is no way a Terran female could take on a Viteen, let alone 3 of them." "I swear it's true. You ever heard of adrenaline?" "Yes. It's a stim that the hoss rat use in soldiers. That stuff is dangerous, man. 1 milligram will kill most species just by touching it." Remember how I said that scholars speculate Terrans' average appearance is a type of camouflage? Their teeth aren't the only thing they hide. Medical told me they naturally produce adrenaline and can produce a lot of it under extreme stress. My broodmate insecurity let me see the footage of what went down. The mother was knocked to the floor when the Viteen took a suckling. When she saw the suckling, she screamed one of the most wretched sounds I've ever heard. She jumped out and lunged at all 3 Viteen. The impact knocked them down. She stuck her hands into the jaws of the tasting mouth and ripped them apart, retrieving her suckling. Then, while clutching her suckling, she proceeded to stomp through the skulls of the downed Viteen to mush. It happened so fast I didn't believe what I witnessed. When the other 2 Viteen jumped for the Terran female to try and get her suckling, she ducked and punched one in the chest so hard it collapsed his breathing organ. The other Viteen grabbed hold of her, trying to subdue her, and she bit clean through his neck, severing his main artery. "What the fuck? How could she do that? They just choose to dump one of the most dangerous drugs in the galaxy into their system. At least she died in honor protecting her young. But from what I have seen, adrenaline overdoses end in a bloody horror." "She didn't die. She's in medical with her suckling right now. Once they got through all the Vittine blood, they didn't find a mark on her aside from the bruised hand. How is it possible? I don't know, but since I watched that video, I haven't even so much as looked at a human suckling. End of story. I'd greatly like to thank our Tier 5 channel members, Casper Arnholtz, John Creighton, Manatharia, 050, Dragzoon WRE, and Elijah Silvercross. Thank you very much.